Access granted.
Kali Linux.
The first part, which is creating partition, installing Linux ISO, and installing Rufus in a flash drive.
Okay, so here's the Windows 11 laptop that we're going to set up. For dual booting, we need two pieces of software. We obviously need to download Kali Linux on the kali.org website. I'm going to click download. I'm going to go to the installer images. And I'm going to download the 64-bit installer. While waiting, let's go to download Rufus. You may prefer using other software, but we basically need something to write the ISO image to the USB drive. So I will plug in the USB flash drive into my laptop. And what I'll do on the Rufus website is to download Rufus 4.4 for Windows 64-bit. You could use the portable version, but I'm simply going to use that version of software. Once downloaded, I'll double click on the exe. What is done is pick up my USB drive, then need to select my ISO image. So I'm going to select the image that I previously downloaded. And then just click start and wait. We're told that we could either use an ISO image or DT image. I'm going to use ISO, and then we warn that everything will be overwritten on the USB drive. I'm okay with that, so I'm going to press OK and write the image to the drive. You can see the drive is being formatted and then the image is being written. So okay, while that's been done, what I'm going to do in Windows is right click on the Windows icon and then go to Disk Management. So here's my Disk Manager. Right click on my Windows NTFS partition. And I'm going to click Shrink Volume. Now you don't need that much space to run Kali and Linux in general. But what I'll do here is specify about 60 gig. That gives us plenty of space. You could obviously allocate much more space or perhaps as a little 30 gig more is better. I am only going to specify 60 gig here. So I'm going to shrink the Windows partition. So there you go, 58 gig in size. But just for this demo, I've got about 416 gig for Windows and 58 per Kali. Just need to wait now for the writing to the USB drive to complete. And then we will proceed to the next step, which is to go into the BIOS of the computer.
The second part is the booting setup.
After setting up our flash drive and installing Kali Linux, we can now restart the laptop and press F2 repeatedly. This will let us enter the BIOS or the basic input-output system of the laptop. First step that we want to do is go to the Security tab and disable Secure Boot. After doing that, let us proceed to the Boot tab and hover in the flash drive that we have inserted. In this case, we named it Linux file. Then we will press F6. This will change the order of files, prioritizing our flash drive with the Linux OS when we boot the laptop again. What we are left to do now is to exit and save the changes. Then the laptop will boot again with the Kali Linux interface ready for setup.
The third part is setting up and installing Linux as well as presenting the environment.
Okay, so here we are in Kali Linux. We will just choose the graphical install. Then wait for a moment. Now select the language and select a country. And choose the language for the keyboard. After that, choose the go back and press continue. Choose the no option and connect to the internet for downloading. It could be a LAN or wireless internet connection. Input the Wi-Fi password and press continue. Input Kali as the host name for demonstration purposes. The domain name is Kali and the username is also Kali. For the password, use Kali as well. Again, this is just for demonstration purposes. After, press continue. Next, configure the clock and choose your time zone. Select Use the largest continuous free space and choose all files in one partition. Then finish partitioning and write changes to the disk. Press yes and continue. Press continue. If you encounter this error, press continue. And press continue again. After that, uncheck the top 10 and the default at the bottom and press continue. After that, we will just wait as the downloading takes time to fully finish. After the downloading has been finished, simply press continue. Choose Kali Linux at the top. And input the username and password created earlier. Now, we are in the Kali Linux operating system. Now, we will try to go back or to change operating system to Windows. Choose Restart. Select Windows option. This is now the Windows operating system.
Here are the pros and cons of Linux. Pros. Number 1, open source freedom. The open source Linux framework, which provides more than just source code access, is a pillar of technological liberty. It stands for a thriving ecosystem in which creativity is encouraged. Developers and IT specialists can not only adapt but also revolutionize the operating system in this ever-changing environment, which is a playground for creativity. Through the utilization of the combined knowledge of an international community, Linux is constantly developing and expanding the frontiers of technology. Number 2, unmatched stability and reliability. The foundation of Linux's design is its reputation for stability and dependability, not simply an advertising stunt. One notable feature of this operating system is that it may run indefinitely without crashing or requiring frequent reboots. This resilience is especially important for systems and servers that have to run continuously. Consider a web hosting company that depends on Linux to keep its servers running continuously. Not only do these kinds of businesses benefit from Linux's strong design, but so does any user looking for a stable system. Number 3, fortress-like security. One of the key features that distinguishes Linux as one of the most secure operating systems is its security architecture. Its innate resistance to malware and viruses stems directly from the constant updates and close examination by the open source community. By applying security updates and making system enhancements with vigilance, vulnerabilities are promptly fixed, adding an extra degree of safety for users. Number 4, customizability unleashed. Linux offers a big benefit called customizability unleashed. Since Linux is open source, users can customize the operating system to meet their own requirements. Everything can be changed by users, including the main system functions and the desktop appearance. For developers and companies that need a system that completely fits their workflow or project requirements, this flexibility is quite helpful. Number 5, cost-effective solution. One of the best things about Linux is that it's a cost-effective solution. You don't have to worry about licensing fees as Linux is freely available. Unlike many commercial operating systems, because of this, it's a desirable choice for people, organizations, and educational institutions trying to cut software expenses. And the cons. Number 1, software limitations. In Linux, the term software limitations describes the difficulty in locating specific commercial software that is compatible with the operating system. Since Linux has a smaller market share than more popular operating systems like Windows or Mac OS, there are fewer software solutions available that are tailored for it. For users who depend on particular apps for their businesses or personal usage, this can be an important hurdle, especially in specialized professions like graphic design or video editing where Linux may not be supported by industry standard software. Number 2, hardware compatibility hurdles. The hardware compatibility of Linux presents a significant hurdle. Despite its strength and adaptability, Linux occasionally has trouble supporting hardware, mostly because there aren't enough drivers available. There are fewer Linux drivers available since many device makers give Windows or macOS priority. This may prevent challenges, particularly with more recent specialized hardware. Number 3, learning curve. It can be difficult to learn Linux, especially for people used to more user-friendly operating systems. The main cause of this challenge is Linux's dependence on command line functions, which stand in sharp contrast to Windows and Mac OS's graphical user interface. Beginners may find a steep learning curve intimidating because it takes a lot of time and effort to perfect. Number 4, commercial support gaps. The lack of commercial support for Linux users is a significant obstacle, especially in work environments. In contrast to more popular operating systems like Windows or Mac OS, which have robust support networks, Linux users frequently turn to independent specialists and community forums for guidance and troubleshooting. Number 5, compatibility concerns. Navigating software and hardware compatibility problems is part of Linux compatibility concerns. Despite more popular operating systems, Linux might not support specific hardware and software that is priority. Users who require certain hardware or programs that are designed with Windows or macOS in mind may find this difficult. Even with Linux's abundance of open source substitutes, there may still be times when the precise program that is required isn't readily available. Moreover, users may need to search for or even create their solutions if Linux does not automatically include hardware drivers for more recent or uncommon devices. And comparison of Linux to Windows. The cost. The majority of Linux distributions are free, at least for individual users, while the newest editions of the Windows operating system comes in a wide range of variants and price points. Number 2, licensing model. Whereas Windows software is private, the Linux kernel and the majority of distributions are open source and frequently accessible under the GNU General Public License, GPU. Number 3, user-friendliness. Windows was created to be as easy to use as possible right out of the box, even for non-IT people. While it's true that Linux distributions, and Ubuntu in particular, are reasonably straightforward for Windows users to learn, most other Linux distributions have substantial entrance barriers. Number 4, the graphical user interface. The Windows graphical user interface, GUI, sets standards for Microsoft, but Linux users have a great deal of control over how their GUI is designed and can even completely remove it. Number 5, support. Numerous support services are available for Windows, both online and within the system. Comprehensive specialized literature is also accessible, catering to users with varying degrees of expertise. On the other hand, the large user base supports Linux. Virtually any issue can be resolved by browsing through the many online forums and wikis. Number 6, software. The majority of software that is released works with Windows. While some Windows programs can run on Linux, there are significantly fewer applications made exclusively for Linux. Number 7, installing programs. Software is installed on Windows by downloading it from websites or hard drives, while most Linux programs, drivers, and packages are provided through fixed repositories. Number 8, uninstalling programs. Certain components stay on the Windows system even after apps are removed. Programs on Linux are always removed. Number 9, hardware. Almost every piece of hardware has a Windows driver available. Conversely, Linux offers less hardware support. Certain drivers are not instantly available. Number 10, reliability. Even if Windows has become more stable recently, most Linux variants are still far more reliable in this regard. It's well known that Linux and its distributions operate incredibly steadily. Number 11, security. Malware and viruses are frequent threats to Windows systems. However, attacks against Linux systems are quite rare. Number 12, speed. Windows has been known for becoming slower with prolonged use, but Linux often operates very rapidly. Number 13, updates. Users may occasionally be required to install updates on Windows and updates don't break. And Linux, users choose which updates to apply on their own. Since they are occasionally experimental, not all users are advised to utilize them. Number 14, trial version. You do not need to purchase a license in order to download and install a trial version of Windows. While in Linux, you can readily test them out because the majority of distributions are free. Installing them is not even necessary, since many of them can function off of a USB flash drive. Number 15, types of user. Windows is designed for all kinds of users, from beginners to pros. Owing to the availability of software that is compatible with Windows, the operating system can be used for both personal and professional purposes. However, utilizing Linux requires a certain amount of specialized knowledge. Furthermore, professional IT users are typically better suited to use Linux variants because many computer games are only offered in restricted editions.